Hey y'all, this is Sarah from The Sarah Carter Show. Thanks for listening to 3 Martini Lunch. What happens when we die? From Angel Studios, the force behind Sound of Freedom and The Chosen, comes an unprecedented deep dive into the phenomena of near-death experiences in the new movie, After Death. After Death makes a courageous venture into a hotly debated, mysterious subject by comparing near-death experience with cutting-edge scientific knowledge. Hear from experts in the fields of science, philosophy, and medicine, as well as firsthand experiences of people who have lived through death as they paint a fascinating picture of life in the next realm. This groundbreaking project responds to the soul's innate desire to find meaning in life and solace in the future. Come see it for yourself or pay it forward by providing a free ticket for others to see the film. Leave your preconceptions at the door and prepare for a never-before-seen glimpse into what the next life could entail in After Death, opening October 27th. Get your tickets today or pay it forward at angel.com/3martini lunch. That's angel.com/3 martini lunch. After Death, the end is only the beginning. Rated PG-13.
Welcome to the 3 Martini Lunch. Grab a stool next to Greg Corombos of Radio America and Jim Garrity of National Review. 3 Martinis coming up.
Happy Friday, everybody. Chad Benson in for Greg Corombos on this beautiful 3 Martini Lunch Friday. As always, Jim Garrity is here. And we got the good, the bad, the crazy. Let's start with the good in Kentucky. That's right, a governor's race. What's going on there, man?
Sure. Chad, thanks for joining us. And I'm not gonna lie. I have not been paying attention to the off-year elections as much as I usually do. We have some state legislative races here in Virginia, but one of the ones that looks like it's going to be the most competitive is the governor's race out in Kentucky. There's a Democratic incumbent, Andy Beshear. And you look at this state, you look at a state that sends Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul to the Senate and that mostly has Republican members in the House. You'd think it was pretty Republican leaning. But unfortunately, unfortunately for Republicans, Kentucky Democrats have figured out how to seem not so liberal, how to seem kind of centrist. And Beshear won last time around. And it looked like, the advantages of incumbency, he's going to be fine. Well, the latest Emerson College poll shows the race in a dead heat. And I mean, literally a dead heat. 47% support Beshear, 47% support Attorney General Daniel Cameron, the Republican nominee. 2% are saying they support someone else. 4% are undecided. This represents Cameron closing pretty decently. Now, I should point out, we've seen some really bad off-polling in past cycles in the Kentucky governor's race. It may just be one of those states where people are reluctant to answer the phone and reluctant to, tell pollsters who they're voting for. But all things considered, in a race where it's mostly been the Democratic incumbent looking ahead by a healthy margin, here we are, last couple of days before Election Day, and it's a tie race. You'd probably feel pretty good if you're Daniel Cameron right now. Obviously, nothing is resolved until all the votes are counted. So if you're in the state of Kentucky, you should go out to the polls on Tuesday anyway. But if you're Republicans, maybe feel a little better about the odds in this state than you were, say, a week or two ago.
It's an interesting thing when I look at these off year, because like you said, I just saw this today and I'm like, I forgot all about it, to be honest with you, because there's so much else going on, what's going on in Israel and everything. But you're right. When I think Kentucky, I think dead red. And the thought that the governor is blue, that harkens back to the days in California, and every once in a while you'd have somebody who was a Republican that was a governor, but it's an odd situation there.
And, we probably should just kind of make a quick walk around the other races. In Louisiana, they will not have a gubernatorial election. Republican Attorney General Jeff Landry won it outright with 51% of the vote earlier this year. They had a 14-candidate jungle primary. John Bell Edwards, the Democratic governor, is term limited there. In Mississippi, first-term Republican Governor Tate Reeves is running for re-election. I've seen a little bit of talk that Democrats are throwing money into this. They think that abortion could be a winning issue, even in the state of Mississippi. Put that one under, I'll believe it when I see it. But yes, this has kind of been under the radar for much of this year. And Republicans, having had one pleasant surprise in Landry's quick win in Louisiana, might have another one in Kentucky. And it's always kind of interesting to see whether these represent useful measuring sticks for the mood of the country and the dynamics heading into 2024.
Hey, y'all, this is Sarah from The Sarah Carter Show. Thanks for listening to 3 Martini Lunch. We all have a heartfelt reason to support our blood pressure. In fact, more than half the U.S. population would benefit from blood pressure support. Super Beets Heart Chews are an easy and convenient way to support healthy blood pressure and promote heart-healthy energy. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in Super Beets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. And believe me, I know, because I'm traveling all over the country covering stories and frankly, sometimes all over the world. And it's so easy. I just keep my Super Beets in my handbag, in my pocket, wherever. And I've got amazing energy. And guess what? They taste really good. So supporting healthy blood pressure comes with a bonus. Super Beets Heart Chews support healthy circulation. So you not only get blood pressure support, you also get a productive, heart-healthy energy without the crash. Double your potential with Super Beet Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beet Heart Chews and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and using promo code Sarah. That's S-A-R-A. Getsuperbeets.com, code Sarah to get 15% off your first order. Getsuperbeets.com, promo code Sarah.
Very interesting indeed. Lots of interesting things going on in the world. That was the good, the bad. When I hear them say this, Jim, it just makes me laugh. Pause. Let's have a humanitarian pause. But hold on a second. We have a battlefield going on, an actual theater of war where there are combatants. How do you tell them to pause in a theater of war? So I don't quite get this.
Yeah, Chad, we were talking about all the other things going on in the world. I think it's safe to say this is front and center in a lot of people's minds. And I think the best, if I were a snarkier person, I would say President Biden is mixing up IDF with DVD, and that he thinks you can just hit pause on these sorts of things. As I laid out in both yesterday's Morning Jolt and kind of reiterated a bit in today, it's one thing to call for a ceasefire, and let's face it, a pause is a ceasefire. This is a semantic distinction the administration is making. But if you want to do it when it's two sides shooting rockets at each other across the border, that's one thing. Airstrikes or something like that, you can always tell the jets to stay at their air base or not to go into enemy territory. But it's a lot tougher to declare a ceasefire or a pause, as the administration insists, when you've got troops deep into enemy territory. And right now in the Gaza Strip, the IDF, Israeli forces, tanks and armored personnel carriers have advanced in like 3 different directions, trying to cut off Hamas from escaping from Gaza City. And these guys, these are long columns of military vehicles that have, driven deep into Hamas territory. They're probably, as we are recording this, they are still shooting. And my guess is that when people listen to this podcast, the IDF and Hamas will still be shooting at each other. So if you say to your guys on the ground, pause, stop firing, well, one, that's going to give Hamas an opportunity to get up off the map. But the second thing is that you've got these guys are exposed out there, and Hamas is going to attempt to reposition its guys to launch an ambush. Oh, by the way, as I laid out in yesterday's Morning Jolt, Hamas has a long history of breaking ceasefires. So the moment Hamas senses it's got a tactical advantage over the IDF forces that are in Gaza right now, they're going to start shooting again. So, what Biden is asking, and with the Biden administration and Blinken's over there formally, requesting Israel to, enact a pause, you're asking the Israelis to put their troops in greater danger. You're asking, it's probably an exaggeration to say that it's suicide, but you are basically putting them in a situation in which Hamas will be able to open fire whenever it wants and declare the ceasefire over. And the likelihood of casualties on the Israeli side go up considerably. So they can't do this. It's bizarre. The Pentagon came out and said, we do not recommend a ceasefire at this time that would allow Hamas to recover. And the attitude of the strategic of the State Department and of Biden, after he was challenged by that heckler, was, well, we're not going to call for a ceasefire, just a pause. Look, you can't there's no real meaningful distinction between those two things. The IDF, these guys have to, when Hamas is shooting at them, they have to shoot back. There's really no reason to think that Hamas would honor that, nor Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And it is deeply frustrating because Biden spent the first few weeks after the Hamas massacre saying, we will stand with Israel and we will stand with them every single day and we are not going to back down. And now, of course, well, he supports Israel, but only up to a point.
You know, I was like trying to figure out what they were going to like. Are they saying, all right, here's the deal. No more rockets being fired. The ground war is going to go on. You guys can, but we're worried about the civilians getting out. And it's just, you're right about the standing with, he's trying to play both games here where, yes, I'm here. I'm with you. I'm going to help you guys with the humanitarian side, probably because he's seeing his numbers with the Muslim voters. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, he wants to show everybody, look, this is how strong we are towards Israel. You can't have both. And they've had their opportunities to get out. And for whatever reason, and in many cases, it's because Hamas won't allow them to leave. That's what you've got. So this is the area that they're fighting in. So figure out a better way with Hamas to help them get out by threatening them more than telling Israel it's time to back down.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a Quinnipiac poll that came out. It's a national poll, and it asked, do you support how Israel is fighting against Hamas? Numbers, percentage was very high amongst Republicans, very high amongst amongst independents, but amongst Democrats, only about a third approved of how Israel was responding to the Hamas attack. Half of Democrats disapproved. I think if you were in a situation, I think if those numbers were reversed, I don't think Biden will be taking this stance, nor would people like Connecticut Democratic Senator Chris Murphy, who had said, I stand by Israel. And he says, well, you know what? They're just not precise enough. Well, unfortunately, Hamas has got like 40,000 guys. They are an army. They have rockets. They have shoulder anti-air rockets. They've got, a whole arsenal in there. A whole bunch of it is underground in those tunnels underneath Gaza City. There is no nice way to fight Hamas. There is no easy way to do this. There is no way to fight Hamas without having Palestinian civilian casualties. And that sucks. That really is a terrible thing. But the fault for that is with Hamas. It is not with the Israeli Defense Forces for shooting back at Hamas. And you cannot say to the Israeli Defense Forces or the Israeli people, well, because of the likelihood of Palestinian civilian casualties, you guys aren't allowed to defend yourself. You guys aren't allowed to attack Hamas. They have to. Hamas has made clear exactly what it wants to do to Israel, to destroy it. There is no form of coexistence with Hamas. Either Hamas goes down or Israel does. That is the circumstance. And a whole bunch of people, including President Biden and Chris Murphy, really want to believe, no, there's some sort of happy option C that we can enact where everybody goes home happy. That does not exist, and they are spectacularly unrealistic in their assessment of the situation.
Very, very real. And we don't have to worry about that here because we live in this amazing country. And that being said, every once in a while, some of our stuff doesn't work so well. So you need a way to protect yourself in the event that your stuff turns off.
Yeah, look, this is a good time to talk about the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. Look, we're probably not going to have any blackouts because of terrorism. Probably not. But there's always hurricanes. There's always big storms. Winter's coming. There's all kinds of things where you can find yourself without power. And that's the kind of circumstance you're going to want to have a Patriot Power Generator 2000X, which is new and improved. It's a solar generator. It charges more devices for longer when you're stuck in a blackout. It's got double the capacity and more peach power than before. I understand that's probably a sweet flavor. No, it's actually just a matter of having more expandable capability for even more power. Now, we talk about disaster, but you could take this on a camping trip. You could take this on a picnic. It's very easily portable. You can use it inside your home. You can power a fridge, a freezer, medical devices. It comes ready to use, and you never need to use gasoline or pour fuel into it or anything like that. You can think about it as the ultimate prepper gift, but again, it's also good for tailgates. It's good for if you want to go out into the wild and enjoy yourself. Expandable, comes with a free solar panel, fume-free, silent, safe, and it comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Visit 4patriots.com/martini to see this week's discounts and deals before they're gone. And you can get free shipping on orders more than $97. Save more and get peace of mind now by going to the number 4patriots.com/martini. One last time, that's 4patriots.com/martini.
Yeah, Benson in for Greg Corombos back on Monday. Jim Garrity is here. We've had the good, the bad, and now funny and crazy. Columbia students, which have lost their mind, pretty much everybody in Ivy League seemed to have lost their mind, versus Hillary Clinton. Who will win?
Chad, the report is that roughly 30 students walked out of the lecture on women's involvement in peace processes, given by former Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton and Karen Yarhi Milo. These students who walked out joined several dozen other protesters who gathered near the lobby of the International Affairs Building. This is all according to the New York Times. Now, I saw this and I kind of chuckled. It was like, oh, now they don't like Hillary Clinton. Where were these people back in 2016 or 2000? I would say 2008, but a bunch of these people, A, probably weren't alive back then. And then two, or probably were toddlers. And then two, they probably, if they had been around, if they were grown adults, they would have voted for Obama in the Democratic primary. It is bizarre. I mean, I guess being a supporter of Israel and an opponent of Hamas, I should be saying, good job, Hillary Clinton. By the standards of Ivy Leagues, she's a supporter of Israel. And it's interesting that, some student groups here have, celebrated the Hamas historic massacre, calling it a counteroffensive, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen some really ugly stuff in the Ivy Leagues here. And it's kind of intriguing to see people who are, really not knee-jerk, always supporters of Israel, people who are not right-wing. They are every bit as bad in the eyes of these protesters. Snot-nosed punk students who hopefully Hillary Clinton now sees it. And with one of the few times I guess we can find ourselves saying, go get him, Hillary.
Okay. The insanity on the campuses, but the fact that, like you said, they're looking at her and they're walking out. And it's funny because her involvement in the peace process, and she comes right on out and said, there's no way you can have peace over here with these people. You can't. It's you knew it was coming, but I love watching their heads spin, Jim, because they're not quite sure who to be mad at any given time. It's crazy.
Yeah. I was going to say our second and third martinis today, there's a certain amount of intertwining or overlap. I'm not happy that Palestinian civilians are dying. They don't deserve this. There are some, there's a decent amount who, are supporters of Hamas. The other thing I would point out is that the Palestinians, particularly in the Gaza Strip, have really rarely had any alternatives to Hamas. If there were a Palestinian Martin Luther King, if there were a Palestinian Gandhi, Hamas would kill them because Hamas does not want any rivals for control over this territory. So you look at that and you have a situation in which, look, there are a whole bunch of people who are going to suffer and who are, going to lose their lives or get injured. We wish that wasn't happening. But the alternative is for Hamas to emerge unscathed from this massacre, and that is morally and geopolitically unacceptable. So anyway, those are our cheery thoughts on a Friday afternoon, Chad.
That is cheery, indeed. As always, good to be here. Chad Benson in for Greg Corombos. He's back next week. Jim, people want to reach out to you and read all your stuff. Where do they go?
At National Review, occasional columns at the Washington Post, and on X or Twitter, or whatever they're calling it these days, at Jim Garrity.
Great to be here, man. You have yourself a good weekend.
All right, same to you.